So I want to take a little time today to update everybody on where I am with the Jeep and the progress that I've made on it. So the last Jeep update I did, I was, I guess, debating on whether or not to replace the power steering, the actual box itself. So I did a little research on power steering pumps and power steering gearboxes, and really I didn't do a little bit of research, I did a ton of research. And here's what I found out. So every steering box that's made, they're all remanufactured. So the ones you get at, the retail auto supply stores are all remanufactured boxes built to the specifications of the factory at that time. So 83 Jeep CJ7 wasn't really made to turn big tires back then. So the gearboxes are have a pretty small piston in them, and they're not made to feel real tight when you're driving. Well, today's day and age, we want to feel that tightness in the steering, at least I do. So there's a guy who started a company called AGR, and they made what had become I guess the best steering boxes for Jeeps, with lifted tires and things like that. So I was going to buy the Superbox 2, but then I found out that the guy who started that company, AGR, sold the company, and the manufacturing was outsourced and the quality went down. So that guy who started AGR didn't like that and started up another company called PSC. So PSC is the only company out there who makes brand new steering boxes. And I talked to one of the techs over there before making this purchase, because it stung a little bit to buy one of their boxes, but the entire thing is brand new. So there's not anything that's remanufactured about this box, and that was really one of the selling features. Also, the stock turning radius on a Jeep is about 4 1/8, 4 1/4 turns, and this reduces that down to 3 1/2. So it has a different gear ratio in the box, so you're going to get more turn of your tire with less effort of the steering wheel. So felt pretty good about it. So I took the plunge and I bought one of these boxes, and I want to show you how I've got it set up. It's not all the way mounted yet. And I also bought a pump, a PSC pump, and I'll show you that in a minute, that matches the new box. And in addition to that, I also bought a new Borgeson steering shaft. So there's really nothing left after this that's not going to be new as far as steering components go. So I've already replaced the ball joints, the tie rods, the tie rod, the drag link, front wheel bearings. I've already gone through the entire front end, and that was kind of wave one of some of the mechanical upgrades and the repairs that I wanted to do to the Jeep. So this is kind of wave two. Wave two has become a little more extensive, and I'll show you what happened and why it's more extensive. So here's the steering box actually mounted in the Jeep. I had to take my front bumper off to get to it, but looks real nice. It's got a aluminum end there and an aluminum top up there where you can adjust the gear. So this is the power steering pump. Obviously I haven't installed this yet, haven't even put the pulleys on yet, but pretty heavy duty, and again matched to the box. So as I was getting into the power steering, taking the power steering pump off, the old one, I had to pull the radiator off to actually get to the power steering lines, and noticed that the radiator was leaking pretty bad. So the radiator was leaking around these seams up top. This is the old radiator, as well as down here, those seams. Definitely looks like the original radiator, so I went ahead and ordered a new one. So when I took the old radiator out, I found these, I guess I call them like dirt daubers, which kind of leads to, I guess kind of lends to my theory that the Jeep sat for a period of time. And in there, I don't know if you can see that, it's actually spiders, dead spiders. So I got to clean all that out now before I can put the radiator in. So on the motor, got rid of the factory plastic valve cover and put on an aluminum valve cover. Now, why they did this from the factory, I don't know. But over here you have these studs that come up for the head, and then you have like these little hold down clamps that go on that really don't help the it really causes the valve cover to leak, and that's obviously what was happening to mine. The valve cover was leaking, so change those out. So I know a guy who is a kind of a shade tree mechanic. He's really good, and he came over and helped me with the tapping these holes out. And when we got over to this side of the valve cover, we found that these three screw holes on this side had these Healy coils in them. I don't know if you can see that. So these are things that you insert into damaged threads, which cause the bolt that was supposed to go in there to be too big for it, because this takes up space inside of the housing, the screw, I guess the screw hole, for lack of a better way to say it. So anyways, we got these out of there, or he got these out of there, and we used that same tap to retap the holes. So why in the hell you would put Healy coils in there, I have no idea. The threads were really not even damaged. Just a simple, it's just running the tap through there, cleaned them up, and the guy that was helping me with this had a little, almost like a dental pick, and picked out all kinds of dirt and debris from those holes. So I have no idea what was going on with that, and why these Healy coils were put in. The engine, with the radiator out of the way and having to drain the cooling system, I went ahead and changed out the water pump, got a new water pump, and painted that red, and a new thermostat housing, new thermostat, new gaskets, painted that. Cleaned up the alternator bracket, also got a new alternator because the old one worked, it just it looked pretty old, pretty beat up. Got new belts, and that right there is where the power steering pump goes, but I've got to install the lines on the new gearbox before I close up that area there, so I have a nice open area to work in. So I'm going to go ahead and put those lines on and the steering shaft before I put the pump in and the radiator and close that area off. So another one of those mysteries of this Jeep was this hose right here. So this hose connects there to the thermostat housing, and then it goes into right here. So this was how this was set up, and it formed a big ugly loop, and then somebody duct taped some padding on it, and that padding actually started to wore the paint off the hood right there. So the reason that was probably done, as I've learned, is that this hose is not something that's made anymore, and you have to figure out an alternative. And this outlet is a different size than this. So went onto the Jeep forums and found a part number, and this is a Napa part 10763, and I don't even know what vehicle this goes to, but it is a pretty good fit. I also found this elbow right here. So essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this piece out, put this elbow in, and then once I do that, this hose will match up right there. I'll have to cut it and put some clamps on it, but much better solution, much cleaner look than this garbage right here. So another thing I did was change out the heater hoses, or I'm in the process of changing the heater hoses, and this is another, in my opinion, screw up from Jeep or AMC, because the heater core is 5/8 outlets or inlets, and where it has to mate to is 3/4. So they also do not sell those hoses anymore, so you're having to buy a reducer, and I bought a couple. I found them at Advanced Auto Parts for a couple bucks, and it's just a brass reducer with that takes you from 3/4 to 5/8. So that was a fairly easy problem to solve. But I did want to point out these hoses. Personally, I've never seen orange hose like this before, and if you look at this, it honestly looks like garden hose to me. So no idea why somebody would use this hose. But tell me it doesn't look similar to that. This is just a hose I have on my house. Looks just like it though. So that's another, the garden hose thing is another one of those mysteries of this Jeep. I just don't understand why some of the things were done the way they were done, just the absolute cheapest way possible. And I mean, not even taking the time. All the information that you could ever want about these things is out there on the internet. And if you just take the time to research it a little bit, you can figure out that all you need is a reducer, and then you can use the proper hoses. So kind of frustrating, some of the things I'm finding. So also put in a new fuel pump, new mechanical fuel pump. It wasn't as easy as it sounds to put in. I had to turn the engine over a couple times to, I guess, get on the low side of the lobe that the shaft of that fuel pump rides on. But once I did that, it went in pretty easy. So next up is this exhaust manifold and intake manifold. So this is going to come off. My mechanic buddy has got the carburetor. So you can see the carburetor's gone, and he's rebuilding the carburetor. And then he's going to come back and he's going to change out that gasket. So this is the new exhaust manifold. I didn't do a header or anything like that, just went with a stock exhaust manifold and put 2 coats of Pour 15 high temp paint on it. Did buy a new muffler too. That's a Flowmaster 40 series. So here's the new radiator installed. This is a Northern radiator, part number 24916. It's all aluminum, all welded, and it's supposed to be more effective at cooling, even though never really had a problem with the cooling. One thing you'll notice is that there's not a whole heck of a lot of clearance. I haven't got my fan yet, but I ordered a Flexolite fan, and not a whole lot of room there for it, but hopefully that will fit and line up at the bottom. I can also take that spacer off if I need to give me a little more room. Looks pretty cool from the front of the Jeep as well. It did not come with a radiator cap, so I did have to buy a new cap. Here's what it looks like from this side. So when I ordered this radiator, it said it was an OE style, and I have to tell you that it's a lot thicker than the stock radiator, so there's no way I'm going to be able to use my plastic shroud around that. So hopefully this thing will come back together this week, and I'll be able to test out the new steering, and all these other parts should really help the Jeep run a lot better. I'm also going to change the oil, change the spark plugs, just do general tune-up like that. But with the carburetor tuned, the exhaust manifold gasket leak fixed. Fuel pump was making some whining noises. I don't know what it was doing, but it was starting to talk to me. So new fuel pump, all these new hoses just should make the engine a lot more efficient. New water pump, new alternator. Just hopefully everything runs really, really well, and I can kind of enjoy the Jeep for a little while. I'm definitely ready to take a break from working on it all the time and kind of ride around and have some fun in it for the summer.